In this video, we're going to explore how you can update a donut chart dynamically in Chart.JS with input fields. So this is very useful and very interesting. So you can see here, this is our question here, and if you look at our situation here, we have this wonderful tiny dashboard, and this dashboard is like a calculator, and what we really want is we want the following. You can see our donut chart is here with values. So what we want to do is we want to, as we adjust the input fields, we would see the donut chart adjusting as well dynamically. So the moment we adjust something, it should match along. And what we want to do as well eventually is all of these dots here, we want to match the colors as well with them. So the loan color should be green, cost is purple here, and the sales would be nice light blue. So how can we do this? Well, let's explore. First of all, before we even continue, if you're interested in Chart.js, check out my Udemy course on Chart.js, diving deep in all different topics of Chart.js. Very interesting one. And of course, for this here, in this example, we're using Chart.js version 2.9.4 to be specific. And I'm putting an X because it might update consistently. However, I'm aware Chart.js 3.0 is in beta and it will be very interesting in the near future. For now, don't need to worry about that. We will be using very minimal codes of Chart.js, and we'll be using a lot more JavaScript in our chart, and that will be very fun. Alright, let's explore here first. So we can see here, this is our information here, this is all the text here, and then here we have all of the codes. So we have all the codes here, and we have our input here. So what we need to do is, well, let me just remove this, and then let's save this and go back here. This is basically what we want to do. Number one, what we need to do is we need to add IDs to the inputs. Every ID here should be matching with this name. So this would be the loan input, cost input, and the sales input, or the sales ID, etc., etc. So once we have that, we will connect the ID name in JavaScript and make a variable from this. And once we have the variable, we can start to extract the variable and extract the value specifically and insert it here in the array of values. Once we did that, we're going to create a function for the chart update. This is the update function in Chart.js that we'll be using. And then after that, we'll be having, because then by that time at step 4, we are done with the dynamic aspect of our donut chart, but we also want to have the IDs of our icons or circles here. These icons here, we want to match the colors here. So we're going to give them an ID and match the ID with the color in the Chart.js array or the chart. So that's what we're going to do. Let's start with step number 1. So as we scroll down here, we're going to give this an ID first. So the ID will be, as you can see, this is the label. And then in the label, we will skip that for now. And what we will do is in the inputs, we will start to work on. So we say in the input here, this is the loan. So we will say here ID equal loan. Once we did that, we go here saying this is the cost item. So ID equals cost. Next is the number here, or this is the sales. So ID equals sales. So now we're done with this. But of course, nothing will happen because now we need to connect this in JavaScript here. So we're going to work here. And then in here, we're going to type in a new variable. And this variable will be called cost or loan. That's the first one, which is identical to the input. Once we have this, we say get document dot get element with a capital echo by with capital Bravo, and then ID is capital I for India. Alright, and then in here we're going to put in the ID name, that's loan. We do exactly the same for all others, which is the other two items. So we have here the cost and we have sales. We have here cost and we have sales. As we have these, now we can save this, but before we even continue, let me show you what happens. So if I say here console.log, we're going to put in this value here. We say the loan value. Alright, so let's save this. And then if you refresh, nothing happens. Open up the developer tab, and then we will see here the console log. You can see here if we, well, if you adjust, of course, this will not happen because there's no function right now built in here. You can see what happened here is the following. It shows everything, but we don't want, we only want the value. So we need to extract the value out of it. So how can we do this? We can type in here. You can make one just for it. For an example, we will say loan value equals, and you can use here basically this, that's this dot value. All right, and then we copy this and we say this one here, save this, let's refresh, and if you look now, our console indicates number 4, which is correct. And if we would change this to let's say here sales, let's see what happens, number 2, and that is correct, sales number 2. All right, so we got this stuff working now, and this is exactly what we need. So we can remove this, but remember this part here because that's what we're going to use. All right, we can remove the console log. We don't need this. That was just for testing purposes. Now what we want to do is, which is step 3 here, I'm just going to remove this. Step 3 was to add these variables to our array of values. So this is the data array that we're going to work with. And basically what we want now is we're going to get this variable dot value. So we say loan dot value, and then we have here next is cost dot value, and finally we have sales dot value. Let's save these, and once we save this, we can see now it should match. All right, so we're not sure. Let's put sales on 10. We only have it here. Sales will be, let's say 20. Let's refresh. Now you can see 20, and you can see here the value matches here. Sales is 20. Beautiful. So now we have the connector. Of course, if you would update here, nothing works. Why? We need to make a function for this. So we're going to work on the function, and this function will be a special function, but we're going to give the function a specific name here. So we say here, let's look here. We say here on change. You can do anything you want on change, on key up, on key down. If you're not sure, on change is probably better, or on key up. However, if someone would do this, so let me explain to you. So if someone would press the key down all the time and keep them going up, you will not see it move until they press up. If that's desired, all right. If that's not desired, I would say use on change. So the moment that this value changes, it becomes, you will see it start to tick along with it. So that's probably more interesting to see. All right. So what I would say here is on change, and here will be the update chart function. All right. So we have this. We can copy this. You can use a semicolon here if you want. It's up to you. Doesn't matter. We'll put it here as well. Same story. Update chart. All right. So once we update the chart here, we can refresh. Of course, we're not done yet because we didn't put any function here. As you can see, it gives an error. So now what we need to do is we need to create the function. So now we have connected it. It's time to create the function here. So we're going to put in here the function because we already have our update chart function on change. So basically, the moment we change, it works. But now we have to put it in here. So to do this, we need to add it here between, just here below. And then we say here, we create a separate function here, function. And this function name is update chart. That you can do here capital C if you want, but then you need to match the capital C here, right? So basically this here is the function we want to activate. The moment we activate this function, what do we want to say? Well, we want to do this, or this is the command we give. First of all, we have to create a variable, and this variable will contain the values that we have. So let me explain. We say a variable, and this variable will be update values, all right? And this variable equals this one here, basically our data. And the reason we have this is basically this. We want to put in a new array, and a new array will have these numbers here. So it will extract these numbers, put them together, and then once we have this, we want to say we have this new array, and this array will be replacing this data here. So how to do that? We say a CTX, and if you're asking why CTX or what is CTX, remember CTX is in this case the chart name. We give the chart the name. This is a standard procedure in Chart.JS. You give the chart a name. So basically, you're already saying this one here, and then what we want is we want to target this part here. So we want to update. So we go in CTX, and in CTX we go to data, and then in the data we're going to search for the data set, and in the data set we're going to search for data, and that is this one here. And then we say replace this. Basically, what we're saying is please replace whatever is in this with the updated value or update value. That's what we're doing here. So we say here data dot data sets, and very important here in this case, because this can be an array, we say data set 0. Yes, is the first value in the array. Yes, it's always start with 0. And then we say data, and then we say this value will be new value, and it is equal to this variable here. Alright, so once we got that, we want to say CTX, alright, and then update, and that's it. So basically what we're really saying is we create a new variable, and this new variable will be based on the inputs here. It will extract the inputs here. And the reason why we get these inputs here is because if this adjusts, then it will see the new value here compared to what is currently stored in the data here. And then it says, okay, please overwrite that. Then we say, okay, overwrite this data here with the new updated values, and then update the chart. Let's save this and let's look. Let's refresh. Alright, so now we have this, and then I'm going to adjust, and you can see now, look what's going on here. As you can see, if I press key up, goes this. If I press this, you can see it started to adjust because this one is getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Alright, so this is exactly what we want. So now maybe you say, well, this is here absolutely annoying. You are absolutely right. We're going to remove this one here. So let's do that one as well. So we say here, pick legend, false. Don't show any legend at all. Refresh. There you are. So now we have our items. So this is basically the first step. So we did now step 1 till 4. It's time for our next step. Step number 5, adding IDs in these icons here so we can get the matching color. So how to do that? Well, let's go back here. IDs are easy to do. So we say here, we will say here for this label, and then we're going to put specifically this span here. So I'm using here a UTF-8, and this is an icon here, and you can use anything. Normally I would use a font awesome icon that has a nice circle. This one is a bit weird circle. It's a different circle, but fair enough. Just for demo pop purposes, this is a perfect one. All right. So we say here ID equals. Then we say here cost text. So I'm going to only focus on the cost text. You can give it anything else you want. This is for cost. Let's look for you for the loan. This will be loan text. And finally, we have here the span here for the sales. Alright, so we save this. We're done with this. Now what we need to do is we're going to update. We can update them with that, or we can have a fixed color by default immediately in here. So right now I'm going to just put in the update. And in the update, we're basically going to do the same thing here. What we're going to do is we're going to make a variable. And this variable will extract this, and then we'll understand that we need to insert the color in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to put it in here in the update chart. We're going to, the moment we click, it will update with the colors as well. And after later on, I will show you as well how you can put in the colors immediately within the chart. So, or within the, what do you call that, the icon here, by refreshing the page, no problem. So we're going to show you 2 ways. First of all, we're going to create the variable, and the variable here is basically our background color. That's going to be the variable, and this background color is, so what we're going to do is we're going to extract the background color here. Same story, we're going to get the CTX data set, and then we get the background color. So we say here CTX dot And then we get here the data sets, and then we have to make sure this is 0, and then dot, instead of data here, now from data sets we go to background color. So we say here background color with capital C, make sure this is matching here. Alright, so this means basically we're going to get the background color will be this variable here. However, this is an array, so we're going to later we have to pinpoint exactly like what we did here, pinpoint which color will be where. And what we will do is basically this. This is the loan, so the loan should be green, and then you have the cost should be purple, and the sales should be blue. So that's the matching colors. So what we're going to do now is the following. Now we say here document get element by ID, and we're going to pinpoint which item we want to adjust. Alright, so here we want to remember we had the ID, and the ID we gave the name here was the following here, loan text. So we're going to get this loan text, going to put it in here, and then what we say here is now this is basically JavaScript, CSS in JavaScript, and that's probably the right term. Style indicating we're going to give it a style, a CSS style, and the color stands for the fonts, equal background color. Then we say here 0 because that's the first one. And what we're talking here about background color is now pinpointing this variable here. Very important. Alright, so once we have that, let's do exactly the same for the others. And why 0? 0 is the first value here. So we say here is number 1, that's the second value. And this will be cost. And then finally we have number 3, or the third one, which is the second value here, because that's the second one in the array. And then we say here will be sales. Alright, save this, refresh. And once we did that, and if we would adjust now, you can see now our colors are matching. So this is wonderful, but I can imagine you say, well, this is fine, but I don't want this, because let's be honest, this is not correct. This should be colored immediately, not with this. You're right. How to do that? You can basically copy this as well and put in here the values after the update. So if we will do that and we just comment this out, let's save that. And sorry, comment out, save this. Let's see what's going on. Are we struggling here? What's going on? So we can see here now for some reason it doesn't work. So let's debug the situation here. We have the variable here, ctx database. This equals that. So what is the issue here? Alright, I figured out the issue. Sorry about this. This is a tiny issue. The reason why it didn't activate is because we are in the function of update chart. Yes, an update chart will only update this part here, and everything else here will probably not be activated. So what we're going to do is, it's going to put here a semicolon. We're going to move this outside of the function because it should load immediately. So if we do this here, we'll put it here. You can even put it here up, doesn't matter. Let's save this. Now, if you refresh, it works perfectly. And if you adjust this, beautiful. And this is basically how you can make this more dynamic. You can even play around with it. For example, if you say, well, this is all fine, but what if I want to adjust colors? Well, we can adjust the colors as well. So you can say here, for example, the following. So what we will do is, we will leave this in here, but we will adjust the color here. So we can say here, for example, this will be blue. So that will mean we will force it into blue. And let's look at that. And I'm just going to remove this. And probably this one can be removed as well because we're not really using anything. We are going to hard code this. If this would be blue, you can see now, and if I save this, this becomes an additional or new color the moment we update, as you can see. However, it doesn't change here because we didn't set that color. And that's, of course, we can set as well. We can set our, what do you call it, the background color as well. if you want to do that, very simple, we do the same thing here. Basically, we do this. We will say here ctx.data.datasets 0.background color, and then we say this background color, the value of this, which is the 0, the first one, equals blue. So we save this blue. Let's refresh now. Now once we refresh, and if we adjust this, there you are. You can see now it starts to adjust color as well. However, you can see I don't like this green line here. The issue of the green line, let's play around with that as well, which is that is the border color. Alright, so let's do exactly the same here, and as you can see now you can really play around with this. Then we say here, not background color, but border color. We adjust this, we make this blue as well, save this, refresh as well. Let's adjust this now, and there you are. Let's remove this so you can see it more clearly. There you are. This is exactly how you can do it, and you can play around with this as well. And this is basically quite fun. So basically what we did was this. We first added inputs. The inputs with the IDs were then connected to our JavaScript variable, and from JavaScript there on, we can start to insert them in the array. Once you connect that one, you need to make sure it will understand the adjustment. When we did the on-click version, with the on-click, we get the function with the update, and once you update it, it starts to, you can see here, it was consistently updated based on every new adjustment. That's it. Once you want to create your own legend or your own version of design, here we use the IDs. In this case, this was a span or a label, which if you click on, you can see this is a label. Basically, we connected this label here with the specific cost tag or the ID itself. And once we did that, we had two options. We could insert it basically in here, but also what we did was we inserted just here. So the colors will be fixed. So the moment you would adjust the colors here, let's say this one will be pink. Let's refresh. It becomes pink as well. Of course, you have to make sure you match this together with your border color. However, now you can see this matches itself, and then we even did this automatic in case you want to do color adjustments. So you can imagine if you have a drop down with choose your color, you can play around with that. You can imagine as well if you want this label to be an input, where you can say, well, I would like to have my typing my own text. You can have that as well. So this is really fun with Chart.JS. Chart.JS can do really a lot of stuff, and if you play around with these kind of things, it becomes really a lot of fun. So I hope you enjoyed this course, or this short, tiny explanation about how to make it very dynamic. If you like this kind of video, and you like to go more in deeper and explore more about Chart.JS, check out my Chart.JS course on Udemy, where we dive deep in every topic and all kinds of charts. And if you have questions regarding to this, put them in the comment section below. Maybe you struggle with something. I don't blame you. It can be challenging, and sometimes you can see as well, I do make mistakes as well here along the way. And if you have maybe a specific request of a video, let me know as well in the comment section below.